How many times do the Beastie Boys reference White Castle in their lyrics?
Find out next on Junk Feud.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to Junk Feud, the podcast about junk food, where we rate and review mystery treats to determine which one will be the undisputed champion of snacks. I'm your host, Mike. Alongside me, as always, Alyssa.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, Liz.
So, two mobile phones got married. They exchanged ringtones, but the reception was horrible.
Oh, my goodness.
What?
I get it. Ringtones like wedding rings. Reception like the wedding. Yeah. Okay. You like that one, huh?
Yeah.
That's pretty good?
Yeah.
Well, that was a dad joke. A joke you tell to your dad. If you'd like to submit a dad joke for Alyssa to tell me on the show, you can send it in to us via Twitter at JunkFeudPod or via email to junkfeudpod@gmail.com. Liz.
Yeah.
Welcome back once again to the world's yeetest podcast.
You say that every time.
I know, that's our thing.
But we know it's the world's yeetest podcast.
That's right. Well, we have to tell everybody else. The world needs to know that this is its very own yeetest podcast.
No, but every time you say that, then I have to go, uh-huh.
Well, you can think of something
Yeah.
different to say if you'd like.
Sure.
What would you like to say instead?
Nothing. So, anyway.
Okay. Great intro. That was an excellent segue. Thank you very much. Segment switcher upper.
The day that we are recording this is the Super Bowl.
Liz, we've already talked about football game snacks, like sports snacks on the show, things that we would have. You like wings, of course. I think tonight for the game, your mom made guacamole.
She made the best guacamole ever.
Yeah, the cowboy caviar style guacamole.
So good.
It's really good. That's a recipe from friend of the show, Dana. Shout out to Dana.
Yes, Dana.
I think we're also having pizza because your brother wants pizza for dinner.
I hate pizza.
No one hates pizza, especially not children, especially not you. You eat pizza like at least once a week.
I don't.
You don't like the only local pizza place that we get our pizza from?
Yes. That's why I don't eat it.
Oh, is it because you just have it all the time, so you don't want it from there anymore?
Yes.
Or is it just because you like crap pizza?
Because I like the bad pizza.
You like disgusting bowling alley pizza?
No, I don't like that pizza. I like Blazes.
Blazes is like disgusting bowling alley pizza.
No, but it's good.
Oh, I disagree. Hey, you know what is good?
What?
I got to try some new snacks recently, Liz. I got to spend some time in Washington, D.C. recently, and there was a Trader Joe's that was in walking distance of where I was staying. That's always a nice treat.
Wow.
You like snacks from Trader Joe's, right?
Yes.
You don't like the pickle stuff that they have, though.
No, I hate their pickled peanuts.
Which is kind of funny because we've had pickled chips and pickled popcorn and pickled peanuts all from Trader Joe's, and I liked them just okay, but you definitely didn't like those. I think you even said that earlier on the show.
They're just like gross. I don't know. I just don't like them.
Yeah, some of them are a little bit, some of those flavors are a little out there. You know what I did have this time that was really good? I had cinnamon roll JoJo's. Did you try one of those? I think you did.
No.
JoJo's are like the Trader Joe's style Oreos.
Oh.
Yeah, these were really nice. The cookie wafers themselves actually had like cinnamon sugar baked into them. You could see the sugar crystals on top. Those were good. The cream inside was a little bit creamier and not as gritty as Oreo cream.
Creamier?
Yeah, creamier than Oreo cream. Those were pretty good. I also had these things that were called like maple pancake snaps or something like that. They were sort of like Nilla wafers, the little wafer cookies, but they were breakfast flavored, like maple and cinnamon and pancake batter flavored. Those were pretty decent.
Wow.
There was a really nice snack mix that I had that had these honey butter cereal pieces inside of it. I told your mother about this. I told her I wanted to share it with her, but then instead of doing that, I just ate the entire bag by myself.
Oh, Dad.
Yeah, it was a moment of weakness, sure. And also there were these little tiny pretzels that had a ginger cream coating on top of them.
I did not try those yet.
Oh, they were really good. So if you like ginger snaps and you really like the ginger...
Snap flavor.
Yeah, like if you really like the ginger snap flavor, the ginger piece of that specifically, with like the spiciness of fresh ginger, you'll like those. So high marks all around to all of that stuff.
Good.
Yeah, good. And, I will say that we kind of said this, I used this introduction last week when we said that hanging out in the basement at Aunt Mary and Uncle Charlie's house made me feel like a king. But when I'm traveling for work and I get to stay up late in a hotel room eating a whole bunch of snacks that I brought back to my room in a big Trader Joe's paper bag, I kind of feel like a king. I feel like royalty, I would say. And guess what, Liz?
Oh, gosh. What?
That reminds me of this week's snack.
What is it?
Up next on Junk Feud, it's White Castle sliders.
Yay.
You sound so excited about that. Liz, what do you know about White Castle sliders?
That my mom said they're the worst thing she's ever had in her whole life.
And that she'll never go back to White Castle ever again, right?
Yeah.
Well, I know that Time Magazine said about White Castle sliders in 2014 that they were the most influential burger of all time. What do you think that means?
That they were good to them?
Maybe, sure. Influential doesn't really mean good. It just means that it influenced a lot of people and things, right?
To do the same thing that they were doing.
Maybe. So not exactly an assessment of quality, but an assessment of importance. And White Castle sliders are important because they were the foundation for what was America's first fast food restaurant chain. Did you know that, Liz?
I did, because you told me that in the car today.
That's right. I told you in the car on the way to the White Castle restaurant. Spoiler alert for later. The restaurant was founded in 1921 by a guy named Walt Anderson, who was a Wichita cook. He'd been running a streetcar diner, and his partner, another guy named Billy Ingram, who was an insurance salesman and also a real estate agent that Anderson met when he was scouting locations for a new restaurant. 1921 is an important date there, and you can see, by contrast, the McDonald brothers of McDonald's fame didn't open their first burger stand until 1937, so this was really early on, Liz.
That was really close to my Eagle score.
Yeah, those are some similar numbers, sure.
21 and 37.
That's right.
31 to 21, 32 to 21.
So what ended up happening was Anderson and Ingram opened a single restaurant on the corner of 1st and Main in Wichita, Kansas. Now, Liz, that location no longer exists. So here's the deal, Liz. They opened that first restaurant. It's not there anymore. The building's not even standing. In fact, there are no White Castles at all. Yeah, in its home state of Kansas, which is kind of a shame.
Kansas City?
No, Wichita, Kansas.
Okay.
Did you ever see the movie The Ice Harvest? As Wichita falls, so falls Wichita Falls?
No.
Sort of like a Christmas movie about hitmen, I think.
No.
That's pretty good. Maybe this Christmas we'll watch that. Anyway, these two guys, they had about $700 in startup capital from a loan as you yawn into the microphone. This is thrilling stuff, right?
I know.
They had about $700 in startup capital from a loan that they took out. And later, a few years later, in 1924, they incorporated the whole business as the White Castle System of Eating Houses Corporation. That's kind of a mouthful there, pun intended, yes?
Yes.
Yes. The White Castle system then was the first mass production line for fast food in America, and it allowed each separate restaurant to turn out products that were identical to any other, regardless of who was doing the cooking. That was kind of a big deal for the time.
Wow.
Yeah. And Liz, although 1921 is generally recognized as the birth of White Castle itself, and in fact, over the past couple years, they've introduced a new burger called the 1921 burger, which they make in a similar fashion to the original smashed burgers that they made on their griddles in that year. You had one of those today, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. But, Liz, do you know what else was going on in 1924 when the company itself was incorporated?
No idea.
No idea what was going on in 1924? Not even a guess?
The Winter Olympics were held in French Alps.
Well, that's a really good guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any other guesses?
Oh, this is very faint in my head.
Sure.
The Boston Bruins debuted in NHL as the first U.S. expansion team.
Wow. You have really great recall today. You can remember these things that happened.
There's one more.
Uh-huh.
Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue was performed for the first time.
Rhapsody in Blue. Wow, your brain is even doing mispronunciations of words that you're reading on a screen. That's incredible. What else?
And the Mercedes-Benz was formed.
Yeah, Mercedes-Benz, the corporation from Daimler and Benz, was formed. Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, the movie studio, was founded in Los Angeles. What else, Liz?
Oh, Marlon Brando was born.
Yeah, Marlon Brando was born in 1924. The last known sighting of the California grizzly bear was recorded at Sequoia National Park, Liz, and Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, V.I. Lenin, died in 1924.
Oh, so sad.
Yeah, R.I.P. to Lenin, I guess, the founder of the Soviet Union.
Nice.
I guess.
I guess too.
So here is something that actually was nice, Liz. Opening a burger restaurant in the 1920s was kind of a big deal because at the time, and this has been kind of a theme throughout history, people were hesitant to eat ground beef. Do you know why people were hesitant to eat ground beef in the 1920s, Alyssa?
Because after the bombshell expose of Upton...
That's expose, darling.
Expose of Upton Sinclair's The Jungle in 1906.
Yeah, so Upton Sinclair in 1906 wrote a book called The Jungle, which was about meat packing in America and basically about how disgusting it was and the sort of dismal accommodations of the workers and the food that were prepared there. White Castle decided they were going to combat this popular narrative around ground beef being bad for you by opening small restaurants so you could kind of see everything and everywhere, with stainless steel counters and appliances that were painted white on the inside and the outside, hence the name White Castle, that would give them the appearance of cleanliness and sanitation. You remember food purity laws that we talked about, Alyssa?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same kind of thing. It also helped that the buildings looked like actual castles as a gimmick. They were sort of based on the architecture of the Great Chicago Water Tower, which is kind of this cool building with battlements and parapets and all that neat kind of stuff. It looks like a castle. And in fact, Liz,
it worked.
It worked. Yeah, all this stuff worked. People were happy to go to White Castle restaurants and eat freshly prepared ground beef. The chain was a success, Alyssa, and it has gone down in history as one of the most important restaurants of all time. In fact, if you're interested, there is a historical archive at the Ohio History Connection that's dedicated solely to preserving the history of White Castle. And if you want to, you can go online to ohiomemory.org to see the digital collection there. The company moved its corporate headquarters to Ohio after it left Kansas.
Wow.
Yeah, and in fact, also, Liz, the success of White Castle as a concept spawned a host of imitators, mostly playing off of the castle architecture and the name White Castle. So there was, get ready for this, White Cabin, White Cap, White Clock, White Crescent, White Diamond, White Dome, White Fortress, White Grill, White House. That's a good one. White Hut, White Kitchen, White Knight, White Log, White Manor, two different versions of White Manor, White Mill, White Palace, White Plaza, White Shop, White Spot, White Tavern, White Tower, White Turret, White Wonder. And then, to play off the color, there was the Blue Castle, the King's Castle, the Little Castle, the Magic Castle, the Modern Castle, the Princess Castle, the Red Castle, the Royal Castle, and also the Silver Castle. All of those different imitators and clones popped up in the wake of the success of the original White Castle from the 1920s.
Wow.
Yeah, if you go down to the South today, Liz, you can still go to a place called Crystal Burger, the only clone of any real notoriety or success, which is still in operation today on a somewhat national or at least regional level. And here, locally in New Jersey, there's still a few of these clones that are in operation. You can go to the White Rose System in Highland Park and a few other places elsewhere. And like I said earlier, there are two different White Manor restaurants. There's one in Jersey City and another one in Hackensack, and each of those is spelled differently. One is White Manor with one N, one is White Manor with two N's. So you can get similar concepts and similar types of burgers at similar places around the country.
White Manor, same
White,
thing. White
Manor and White Manor, that's right.
Ew, the taste is still in my mouth.
Yeah, we're going to get to the your eating experience with White Castle in just a bit. And I think it's important to note right now, as you say that we seem to take fast food and fast food infrastructure and logistics for granted today. But it's really fascinating to think about this, Liz. When White Castle opened in the 20s, none of this support was in place to run that kind of business. So they had to create everything from scratch.
Dad had a White Castle burp, and it was gross. It smelled so bad.
Oh my God. I'm trying to talk about the historical relevance of the most important fast food eatery of our time, and you're talking about belches. You think that's funny?
Yes.
Well, here's something that is actually funny. White Castle, Liz, was the originator of the hamburger bun.
Buns.
Yeah, well, Walt Anderson himself probably invented the hamburger bun. Before he invented the bun, hamburger sandwiches were served on toasted white bread.
Shiny buns.
Yes, the buns are shiny. They put an egg wash on them when they bake in some cases. Thanks. But in order to get all of those hamburger buns, White Castle had to establish its own bakeries because no bakeries for hamburger buns existed. They had to come up with their own meat packing plants for all the ground beef. They had to build their own warehouses to hold supplies. They wanted all of their restaurant employees to wear paper hats. So they had to create their own paper company just to make the paper hats that the employees wore. And because they wanted all of their buildings to look the same, they even founded a construction company that would prefabricate steel frames that their buildings were built from.
Whoa.
Yeah, all of this had to be created just to support a whole bunch of restaurants that were making hamburgers. They were the first restaurant to cook the burgers and the onions on the same griddle. They invented the burger bun itself, like we said. All of this is really rather amazing. it's said on the White Castle page that the only things they didn't do were raise the cows and grow the wheat.
What does that mean?
Well, it means that they didn't actually have the farms where the cows for the ground beef were raised, and they didn't actually go out onto the farms and grow the physical wheat that was then turned into the flour that the buns were baked from.
Oh.
But in the supply chain for White Castle, they did like everything else. And despite all of that, despite all of its history, White Castle is still a relatively small chain today. That's due to a number of decisions that they made about the way to run the company. They don't franchise, for example.
Probably a good decision.
Yeah, well, you're saying that because you didn't like it very much, right?
Yes.
Well, you don't have to worry too much because you won't see very many White Castles. There are fewer than 400 restaurants across just 13 states. And if you compare that, for example, again to McDonald's, which we talked about earlier, McDonald's has about 36,000 or so restaurants. So
probably in like 3 states.
Yeah. Many more than 3 states. All the states, I think. And a number of different countries as well.
Oh, there's actually a lot in New Jersey now I think about it.
A lot of McDonald's?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of McDonald's restaurants everywhere.
There's probably like 100 just in New Jersey.
Well, Liz,
And
for
New
White
Jersey
Castle,
is small.
that's true. New Jersey is small, but it is densely populated, right?
Yes.
So you need lots of McDonald's restaurants to service that population?
Oh, can I tell them my story about McDonald's?
Sure, go right ahead. I'm sure everyone is going to be thrilled to hear this.
So one time, me and Ella,
Friend of the show, Ella.
we were driving home and we were very hungry and we were like 30 minutes away. So we decided to get McDonald's and I never liked McDonald's, like ever. And I decided to try a burger and, I tried it and then when we got to her house, I ran into her bushes and vomited everywhere.
Yeah, that's gross. I knew that was coming because you've told me that story before.
Yes.
So you have some preconceived notion about fast food hamburgers, don't you, Liz?
Yes, that's why I never get them.
Well, here's an important thing to know. All of the fame and fortune of the early White Castles, relatively speaking, was based on the success of and demand for a single thing, which was a fast food hamburger.
Ew.
Yeah, at opening, they retailed for just a nickel, Liz.
A nickel?
Yeah, they were 5 cents per slider. Later, they raised the price to 10 cents. But they were also the first to innovate this thing called the newspaper restaurant coupon. You know, you don't know this because you've never read a newspaper, but when I was younger.
I was in the newspaper, Dad.
You were in the newspaper?
Yes.
That's right, when your softball team won your age group championship. That's right. You were in the local newspaper.
We never lost a game.
So here's the thing. When you looked through that local newspaper to find a picture of yourself, did you notice that there were some fast food coupons in there? There would be like a little insert that would have coupons for some percentage or dollar amount off of McDonald's or Wendy's, for example.
There were some for ShopRite.
Okay, well, that's sort of a similar thing. That's a grocery store circular, but White Castle was the first to innovate the newspaper restaurant coupon, and in those coupons, they would offer 5 sliders for 10 cents. So that was a pretty screaming deal when they were supposed to be 5 cents each.
Wow.
More than half off there. Liz, here's an interesting thing as well. We bought some White Castle sliders today at the White Castle restaurant. Spoiler alert for later. They're about $1 each. The more of them you buy, the less they cost per unit. But based on historical inflation rates, this is probably still about the same amount of purchasing power now as a nickel was in 1921. So a hamburger costs about the same now relatively as it did in 1921 when they opened the store. That's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
And those burgers themselves, Liz, we've said this word earlier, they are called sliders.
Yes.
What are some of the other names that White Castle burgers have been known by over the years?
Roach burgers.
Uh-huh.
That's a good one.
You think that's appropriate?
Belly busters.
Yeah.
Gut bombs. Whitey one bites. Mighty Whitey one bites.
Yeah, Mighty Whitey one bites. That's pretty funny. There is no consensus on the etymology of the word slider. There are a few different theories about what it means and where it came from. Some say that the term originated from the 1940s, where U.S. Navy sailors used them as slang for small, greasy burgers that would slide down your throat in just a couple bites. White Castle itself says it's either that or maybe the fact that in their early restaurants, the cooks would slide the burgers across the griddle while they were preparing them, and then they would put them on porcelain plates and slide them across the counter to you. There's a guy named George Motes. He's a hamburger scholar, probably the patron saint of the regional hamburger in the United States. He says he likes that second explanation the best. Liz,
What?
We've brought this up before. In our high school, if you got a certain grade point average, you got a gold card pack at the end of the marking period, and that had coupons for White Castle inside it because there was a White Castle restaurant right behind our high school, I should say. And in high school, we were told they were called sliders because they would slide right through your guts and come out smelling exactly the same as they went in, which is pretty gross.
So like, ew.
Yeah, you see what I'm getting at there?
Ew.
Yeah, they do have this reputation, though. NewJersey.com called them a war crime against the digestive system.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty evocative. Whatever the case, sliders were immensely popular and very unique in their construction as compared to other griddled burgers lists. The patties are, you know this now, because this was your first time eating there, but they're very, very small beef patties.
Yeah, they're like the sausages you get on like your school lunch plate.
You did compare them to that. That's an unflattering comparison. They are like a scant slip of beef. They also have holes in them, which was an innovation that was credited to a cook named Earl Howell in 1954. And
because they're lazy and didn't feel like flipping them.
Well, you say lazy. Earl at the time said efficient because the restaurant that he worked in was so busy that they didn't even have time to flip the burgers. There were so many orders from them. So Earl guessed that if they put holes in the little pieces of beef, that would allow the burgers to cook faster because they wouldn't need to be flipped, and the onion steam from underneath them would permeate the meat and the onions better. And guess what? Earl was right. He is now in the White Castle Employee Hall of Fame, which is a real thing, Alyssa.
Isn't Earl dead?
Earl is probably dead because that was 70 years ago that he came up with that innovation. I don't know for sure. I'll have to check.
Okay.
Yeah, but Liz, here's something we alluded to just a moment ago. White Castle burgers are in fact steamed, which is unlike most other burger construction methods. So like most burgers are cooked on a grill or a griddle, some type of flat top, cooked over direct heat.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are steamed. There's a bed of finely diced onions that's laid down on a griddle, and then the small square holy burger patties are put on top to absorb the steam from the onions, and then the buns are stacked on top to soften. In fact, Liz, White Castle didn't even offer cheese on their burgers until 1962.
Whoa.
So like 40 years later, yeah, they were just hamburgers at first. And when those burgers are completely cooked through, they get a single pickle slice on top and a little squeezer of ketchup. And the ultimate effect is that you don't even have to chew the burgers. They just sort of melt all together because of that onion steam. You're saying, ooh, lots of people take that as a positive. That means they can eat a lot of them. And White Castle's original motto was buy them by the sackful, Liz.
There were so many people there today. Like, people were ordering like boxes of 20 by the second.
Yeah, every other person that came into the store while we were there would order a case of 20 or 30 burgers at a time. And
I heard the lady talking. Someone spent $230.
Yeah, there was a very, very big order that came in that was for pickup later in the day. Again, because it was Super Bowl Sunday and probably people were using this as their football snacks. You can, Alyssa, if you're gutsy enough, order a crave case of 100 burgers at a time.
Gosh.
That is enough calories for an adult person for an entire week.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And here, Liz, here's an interesting fact that you might like to hear since you're into this kind of stuff. If you order that 100 slider case, there is a chance that a burger that you eat might have been prepared by, Alyssa, a robot.
What?
Yeah, that's right. Since 2020, the chain has been experimenting with a fast food cook robot called Flippy. Flippy is a little robot that flips burgers and makes fries. There was a test run in Chicago. The company called Miso Robotics created an artificial intelligence-based computer vision-enabled platform. It was updated recently to the more evolved Flippy 2 and rolled out to about 100 different White Castle restaurants. And this makes a lot of sense, I think, Alyssa, because White Castle has always been at the forefront of restaurant efficiency and automation, as seen in its first production lines in the 20s.
Wow.
Liz.
What?
Speaking of being at the forefront, would you believe that White Castle is one of the most romantic dining destinations?
I mean, it seems pretty true to me because there were some old people there and they were on like a little date.
There were some cute old couples there, and they definitely did look like they were on a lunch date. And it's true, Liz, for this as well. Every year, White Castle hosts a special event on Valentine's Day where they change the name of the restaurant to Love Castle.
Love Castle.
Yeah, they decorate with Valentine's Day decorations. They put lit candles on the tables. They dim the lights. They serve these things called Love Cube meals to couples that call up in advance and make a reservation for a table.
We should do that.
That would be kind of fun, actually. I think it's very popular. It usually sells out every year. They also, Alyssa, have a special soft drink available called the Sprite Love Castle Potion, and you can get a limited availability strawberry swirl cheesecake on a stick. And if you are extremely lucky, because they make special merchandise for the occasion, somebody might buy you the Love Castle silk robe, which is emblazoned with the restaurant logo and some pictures of sliders all over it.
Oh, that's funny.
Are you jealous? Do you want a White Castle silk robe?
Not really.
Well, listen, this is not just a gimmick. This is a thing they've been doing since 1991, Liz, way before the internet made it cool to do like dumb, ironic, brand-oriented stuff. This is a legitimate institution that, just like the holes in the burger, was started by White Castle employees. Christine Howard and Gloria Hollingsworth wanted to make the Valentine's Day evening memorable for regular customers at their two separate restaurants. And they wanted to use white linen tablecloths and put out fresh cut flowers like fancier restaurants might do. And Liz, this night has spawned true love in many cases. There have been more than 75 couples that have actually been married at a White House restaurant.
You're kidding.
I said White House, I meant White Castle. I'm not kidding. People love White Castle.
People get married there?
People get married in White Castle, yes, absolutely.
Maybe that couple got married there.
That's entirely possible. They
and
look
maybe
like
that's
they
like
had been
their
going there.
anniversary place.
Well, we're creating a backstory for complete strangers, but sure, why not? They met there on Valentine's Day. They got married in the store. This is their anniversary. Why not?
Maybe.
Shout out to that cute couple.
You guys were so cute.
You guys rock.
You and your little chubby cheeks.
There were also, Liz, lots of other spin-offs and collaborations. You're going to love this for Alyssa and Ella's Candlecast. There is
Not out yet.
There is a White Castle scented candle that you can get.
Ew. No.
I think you guys should do that for the first episode of your show, because that would be like a nice crossover.
I have a headache
for Candlecast and Junk Feud.
Like hurts.
Just thinking about a White Castle candle.
Yes.
Well, if you don't want a candle, you can buy some White Castle sneakers that were made by Puma.
You can buy those.
I definitely don't want them. They look atrocious. You can make White Castle Thanksgiving stuffing from a recipe that they have online.
Delicious.
Would you want to put that on your table?
I'll put that on the dog table.
There's a dog table at Thanksgiving?
Yeah, there
We don't
is
have
now.
a dog.
Well, there will be, if someone's eating that, it will be a dog.
Oh, gosh. And of course, Liz, speaking of food for dogs, the White Castle frozen burgers debuted in 1987 and are the #1 selling frozen hamburger in the entire world.
Number one?
Number one, the best-selling frozen hamburger in the world is the White Castle frozen burger, the slider.
I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Well, you know who does want to talk about it?
You.
Well, sure, but also the Beastie Boys list, some of the most famous White Castle enthusiasts. We listened to License to Ill in the car on the way to White Castle because the Beastie Boys rapped about White Castle in at least 5 different songs, 5 of those out of 13 on their debut album, License to Ill, from 1994, which we talked about today. Ill Communication was 1994. My favorite one, of course, is Slow and Low, when they said that line about how White Castle fries only come in one size.
Yeah.
That was true at the time. It's not anymore. You can get small, medium, and large fries. And White Castle does, in fact, lean into this association with Beastie Boys because the White Castle vice president, a guy named Jamie Richardson, gave an interview to Billboard magazine celebrating the 30th anniversary of License to Ill and its references to the brand. And he, in fact, also said that Slow and Low, White Castle fries only come in one size, was his favorite Beasties White Castle lyric.
Well, it's your favorite, too.
It is. That's right. You know what else is my favorite, Liz?
This part of the show.
Almost. We are almost there. My favorite cultural reference about White Castle, however, and the one probably everybody's waiting for, was a 2004 comedy film called Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, which is ostensibly, for your purposes, about 2 pals who get a late-night craving for White Castle and try mostly in vain to find a restaurant.
Well, you have to tell them about the story with Yimbo.
Oh, yeah. So the movie, Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, was written by a screenwriting duo, 2 friends, New Jersey natives, Hayden Schlossberg and John Hurwitz, who were inspired by some high school hijinks from some of their friends that they met at a place called Randolph High School, which is in Randolph, New Jersey, which is also the alma mater of friend of the show, Yimbo, from Yimbo Reviews Everything on YouTube and Instagram fame.
You should go follow him.
Yeah, you should definitely go follow Yimbo. He has a great channel where he takes pictures of action figures, and it looks, quite frankly, really amazing. Here's an interesting thing about the movie Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. Cal Penn, one of the actors in the movie who played Kumar, he is a vegetarian, Liz. He does not eat meat.
Really?
Yeah, so in the climactic scene, when they actually make it to White Castle and they have this giant meal, Kal Penn was eating secret vegetarian sliders and not beef sliders from White Castle. Yeah, a little Hollywood movie magic there. Originally, the movie was going to be called Harold and Kumar Go to Krispy Kreme because the late night craving was actually not a craving for White Castle, but instead for Krispy Kreme donuts. But the Krispy Kreme Corporation said they did not want to be associated with those kind of hijinks and declined to participate in the movie.
Wow.
So the screenwriters changed it at first to a made-up hot dog stand, and then they struck a brand deal with White Castle, and the rest is history. And in fact, a piece of that history is one of our favorites, competitive eater Matt Stoney, the Megatoad, ate the entire Harold and Kumar movie order, almost 10,000 calories worth in 15 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
And that list was my favorite part of doing the research for this show. And you know what that means?
It's your favorite part of the show?
It's now time for my favorite part of this show. Alyssa reads the ingredients. And here we have the ingredients for frozen White Castle burgers, a good snack.
Okay, so for the bun, there's enriched bleached wheat flour, malted barley flour, niacin, iron, thiamine, mononitrate. I cannot ever get this right. Riboflavin.
Well, you say it differently every time, so just pick one.
We're just going to go with riboflavin.
Okay.
Folic acid, water, sugar, soybean oil contains 2% or less. Yeast, salt, vital wheat, gluten, mono and diglycerides, cornstarch, calcium, stearoyl lactylate, CSL, oat fiber, corn syrup solids, guar gum, whatever that is, sodium alginate, monocalcium phosphate, enzymes, xanthan gum, absorbic acid, vitamin C. For the hamburger, there's beef, water, dried onions, and salt and pepper.
Yeah, so most of that is just the bun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
None
a lot
of this sounds like real food.
Lots of ingredients, none of which sound like real food for the bun, and then
other than flour.
Beef, water, dried onions, salt, and pepper. And Liz, do you know what that means?
What?
It's time to play the game, and let's get to the rules of the game. Junk Feud is a culinary clash to see which treat will be crowned the undisputed champion of snacks. It's a king of the mountain style battle in which the reigning champ takes on a new challenger each week to determine. I already said determine, didn't I?
Yeah.
It's a king of the mountain style battle in which the reigning champ takes on a new challenger each week to see which snack reigns supreme. And Alyssa,
what?
The reigning defending undisputed champion of snacks is Butterbeer, after an epic showdown for the ages last week with the incumbent champion Banana Cream Pie. Butterbeer was victorious. And Liz, this was surprising in dominating fashion too. This will be its first title defense.
Yes.
And
I already know the answer.
The challenger today, don't get ahead of yourself, young lady. Today we are trying White Castle sliders.
Yes.
Yes, White Castle sliders come packed in boxes from your local grocer's freezer, but also we made ourselves a trip, Harold and Kumar style, to the closest White Castle to us, which is in Ledgewood, New Jersey, which coincidentally, Liz, would also be the closest White Castle to the creators of Harold and Kumar when they were at Randolph High School.
Wow.
So, as noted, we are going to try both the home version and the restaurant version of prepared sliders. We'll also have some quick notes on one other item that's available frozen from White Castle, which were the White Castle cheeseburger bites, which we tried.
Yeah.
So, Liz, let's talk about it because I should say it's crunch time.
Crunch time.
We rate our snacks using a tier list from sprinkles to fun dip.
Sprinkles to fun dip.
So snacks can be graded A, B, C, D, or F, with the very best treats earning the elusive S tier ranking. The following contest is scheduled for one serving.
One serving.
And is for the undisputed championship of junk food. Liz.
Yes.
What did you think overall about White Castle, the restaurant, before you get into your thoughts about the burger? I just want to know, your thoughts on the experience of eating at a White Castle, a 24-hour restaurant, White Castle itself.
It reminded me of the, one of those playtime restaurants in, what's it called? In the land of make-believe.
Oh, like the little places that are set up for kids to pretend that they're running a restaurant, like that kind of thing?
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. Yeah, it is rather small. It's quaint. It does look like a castle, like in in exterior construction. It's gimmicked to look like it's a castle. So that was kind of neat. You kind of, I think you kind of were off put by the whole experience though. It's kind of a chilly day. It smells heavily of grease and onions inside, which is not your favorite thing. Someone had vomited on the ground next to our car, which all of this, I should say, is probably like part and parcel of a White Castle experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so let's talk about what you thought about sliders themselves. We've said on this show before, we rate snacks and treats. We don't do meals. It's very difficult to conceive a single White Castle slider, especially the frozen ones from the grocery store, as a meal. If someone said, "What'd you have for dinner tonight?" and I said one frozen White Castle slider, I would be suitably embarrassed. So yeah, these are a snack for sure.
They are gross.
And you hated them, absolutely despised them. You took one bite of your steamed oniony slider and you said, "No, thank you." I gave you the 1921 style burger, which
like
was
that
more
much
like a
better.
traditional griddled hamburger. And you ate that and you didn't really like it that much either, but you did finish it because you were hungry and it was lunch.
Yes, because I didn't have anything to eat other than a bag of Cheeto.
Yeah, we had fries. The fries were not good. They were frozen, crinkle cut, unsalted, unseasoned fries. Very bad. They tasted like something you would get like at a down market roller rink, I think I should say.
Yeah.
Now, I did eat a few of the sliders just to remember what it's like. I don't like White Castle.
And he said he would never go back for at least 5 more years.
I think about every 5 years or so, I will get a hankering and I'll go try a slider just to see if it's good. And it never is. They're always really bad. They smell terrible. They taste even worse. They're soggy and mushy and chewy from being steamed. The beef is about the lowest grade of quality that you can possibly get, and thankfully there's not much of it. The onions are dehydrated, rehydrated chips. The pickles are sliced so thin that if there was like a one fewer atom in them, they would be nothing at all. It's really, really gross. White Castle is absolutely disgusting, but it is an important part of culinary history in the United States, and specifically of fast food and junk food history, so it was important that we assess it. So that was what we thought about the actual White Castles from the restaurant. What did you think about the frozen burgers that you and your mom picked up from the grocery store today?
Those were also disgusting.
Also disgusting, correct. But slightly different, I should say, in terms of the few different ways that you have to prepare them and how they taste. I thought, actually, in terms of the flavor profile, surprisingly enough,
the microwaved one was actually not as bad.
Yeah, the frozen burgers, in taste alone, not necessarily in texture or preparation or ingredients, they tasted better than the ones we got from the store, from the restaurant.
I would say all of like the frozen things, other than those cheeseburger bites, all of the frozen things were like a D-.
Okay, so you're already giving your scores for the frozen stuff, which is D-. We prepared the frozen White Castle burgers 2 ways just to try them out. First, we microwaved them according to the instructions on the package.
They were better in the microwave. They were like weird. It was like astronaut food cheeseburger.
Yeah, they were significantly dehydrated, very crispy, despite wrapping them in a wet paper towel and microwaving on like moderate heat for the prescribed amount of time, letting them sit, all that kind of stuff. So it was a completely different experience, still a bad one. Then, over a pot of boiling water with a steamer insert rack, we steamed one of the frozen burgers until it was cooked through.
Disgusting.
Also disgusting. However,
it was like a piece of paper.
It was flaccid, yes, and floppy. I would say the effect was that it was basically like a pile of goo, more or less, in the shape and color and size of a hamburger.
I could probably stir that with a spoon.
I think you could have wringed it out, but it was almost exactly like the consistency of the burgers that we got from the store. So it was spot on making them like that. They're just bad all around in execution. I think that's the problem.
What would you rate the cheeseburger bites?
Oh, and then we tried the cheeseburger bites, which are a relatively new product. They're essentially Totino's pizza rolls, but instead of mozzarella cheese and tomato sauce inside, there is something that approximates beef and cheese and onions.
It's horrible.
Yeah, they were really, really bad. I will say, fortunately, there was not much to them. They were barely filled. You got one that was completely hollow with nothing inside.
Yeah.
And they just tasted like rancid grease, even though they were bought fresh today and air fried in our own house. So, yeah, not good. I'd say the cheeseburger bites, F for sure. Very bad.
Yes, frozen things, D-.
Frozen burgers, D-, sure.
And then just the White Castle in general, F.
Also F from you. I will say the White Castle slider from the store, despite having a worse flavor profile, for nostalgia and importance sake, even though it's not nostalgic to me because I never ate these when I was a kid.
Oh, I would also say the 1921 burger was like a D-.
Also a D-?
Yes.
So slightly worse than average.
Yes.
Okay. I would say I'll give the slider from the store a D+, the gentleman's F. This is a pity score. I feel bad for it. White Castle is important, but not good. If you want to go to like White Manna or White Rose, if you're around this area, you will have a much, much better experience. You will also probably not soil yourself or vomit immediately afterwards, which I think is mostly the effect of White Castle.
I was actually going to cry when I saw that pile of vomit next to our car. It was right next to our car.
Yeah, it was kind of a sad Sunday in that sense. I really liked doing all the research for this episode and learning about the history and importance of the restaurant. I did not so much like the experience of eating White Castle again. I should know better. I've done this a number of times. It's my own fault.
I like how you already wrote the winner because you knew that White Castle didn't stand a chance.
Well, let's get to the bliss point then, Liz. What do you think?
Disgusting. Horrible.
Disgusting.
The worst
horrible.
thing I've ever had in my life.
Wow. I don't know if I would say it's the worst thing I've ever had in my life.
Maybe the second worst thing. The worst thing is probably those jelly beans.
Which jelly beans?
The beans that you got, they were different flavors.
Oh, the Birdie Bots every flavored beans,
Yeah.
The vomit and booger and earwax ones. Yeah, those are pretty bad. Well, those are supposed to be bad, though. White Castle burgers are not supposed to be bad. They're supposed to be good. So I guess that means, Liz, our winner and still reigning, defending, undisputed champion of snacks is Butterbeer.
Yes.
Butterbeer from the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. And that about wraps it up for White Castle, and I think probably for your entire life for White Castle, if I had to guess.
Don't go there.
Both you and your mother have sworn that you will never eat there again.
Ew, there's like pieces of beef coming out of my mouth.
Well, whatever the case, I'll see maybe some of you there in 2028.
Yes, hopefully they get better.
Hopefully they do. And hopefully we have some new Oreos soon. Liz, we did the most Oreos a couple weeks ago. Those were delicious. Shout out to friend of the show, Amir, for providing some of those to us as well. There's no new Oreos this week, but we do have to ask, as we do every week, a very important question. Sadly, yes, that's right. Can you deep fry this week's snack? Will it deep fry?
Yes.
Yeah, almost certainly, right?
Obviously.
Yeah, there are multiple websites, all of them with unfortunate names. Dude Foods, Mad Meat Genius, Peanut Better, Food Beast, yuck, all of those, yuck.
Yeah.
They describe methods for deep frying the frozen White Castles that you get from the grocery store in the what's essentially the normal way, battering them, dunking them into scalded oil.
Yeah.
And of course, the Orange County Fair also offers deep fried sliders or friders, as they're called. And uniformly, these all look absolutely gross, yes. You know what's not gross, Alyssa?
The back of the box.
The back of the box. It's time to check out the back of the box, a weekly segment where we play a little game. Liz, would you like to play a game?
I would like to play a game.
Good. And this week's segment is a perennial fan favorite, Off With Their Bread.
Off with their bread.
On Off With Their Bread, Alyssa tells us about a famous historical person who was beheaded for treason. This week on Off With Their Bread, Liz, it's Lady Jane Grey. And in fact, we should note right up front, Lady Jane Grey was the impetus for starting this segment after we talked about her untimely demise on a previous episode, and friend of the show Jen suggested on Twitter that we make this a recurring feature. So we have. And Liz,
what?
Before we begin, I want to tell you, I had a bit of an Off With Their Bread cultural tour when I was in London a few weeks ago.
Really?
I saw the banqueting house at Whitehall where Charles I was beheaded. I walked across the street where his body parts were strewn about. And then I also visited the National Gallery and I saw a very, very famous painting called The Execution of Lady Jane Grey, which was painted by a man named Paul Delaroche in 1833. This was an oil painting depicting the decapitation of this week's subject, Lady Jane Grey.
Wow.
So tell me a little bit, Alyssa, from your notes about Lady Jane Grey.
So, Lady Jane Grey was known as the 9-day queen for the brevity of her reign and the shortest in British royal history.
Yeah, she was queen for a smaller amount of time than anyone else, just 9 days, Liz.
Wow.
Yeah.
She was 17 years old when she what are these words? You know I can't read this.
She was 17 years old when she was condemned to death and beheaded at the Tower of London. A teenager.
Her tragic end the result of a series of manipulations,
Manipulations, yes.
And intrigues.
And intrigues, of course.
The great-granddaughter of Henry the Fifth.
The seventh.
I was close. And the
yes, you were.
cousin of King Edward the Third.
The sixth. If the VII is 7, then V1I is 6, right?
Oh, it just looks like a 3, like with the
Oh,
1, 2,
because
3.
there's 3 lines, sure.
Himself a son, oh my goodness, of Henry the Eighth.
Very good, you got it.
She was chosen personally by Edward.
Yes, King
at
Edward.
The urging of John Dudley.
Yeah, he was the Duke of Northumberland and coincidentally also Lady Jane's father-in-law.
So to succeed him on the throne after his death, instead of his sister, Mary Tudor, because Mary was a Catholic and Jane was a Protestant, like Edward.
Yeah, there was a little bit of weird religious machination behind this. Edward was a Protestant. His sister Mary was a Catholic. Edward thought that if his half-sister got the throne, then she would make England a Catholic country. And even after his death, he wanted it to remain a Protestant country. So he skipped the normal succession. Jane was like 5th in line for the throne, I think. And he chose her personally to succeed him. And, well, what happened next, Liz?
She died.
Well, yeah, eventually her head was chopped off. The people of England were not having this at all. The council proclaimed Mary the rightful monarch just a little more than a week later, 9 days later. And so
Jane and her husband
yeah, that's right,
were imprisoned in the Tower of London and were expecting a pardon until her father tried to lead a rebellion against Mary, which didn't bode well for her fate.
Yeah, this poor little teenage girl who it seemed like everybody liked got suckered into being the Queen of England by a bunch of adult men in her periphery who were using her sort of to gain access to proximity to power. And what happened then?
Lady Jane Grey and her husband were both executed by beheading a month later. And the Delaroche painting offers a visual depiction of the scene that is what?
Poignant
and heartbreaking.
Yeah, her last words before her head was chopped off with a giant axe were the same as Jesus's last words on the cross.
I love you? I don't know.
No, but that was a very good guess. An excellent guess, some would say. And in fact, Liz, let's wrap it up. This podcast should reach you in excellent condition, satisfaction guaranteed, or your money back. If you've got a question for us, you can write to the address on the label. That's junkfeudpod@gmail.com. Any final thoughts this week, Lady Alyssa Gray?
I don't know.
You don't know?
What?
Nothing final for you?
No, have a slaytastic day.
Have a slaytastic day. Oh my gosh. I don't understand children.
And go Eagles.
Go Birds. This podcast has contained your recommended daily allowance of fun. For more, go to Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or wherever you choose to be social and find us at Junk Feud Pod. You can stream with us on Twitch, watch fun-sized snack reviews on YouTube, buy merch on TeePublic, and fund us on Patreon at Junk Feud Pod for exclusive bites. And don't forget to catch all the snaction each and every week wherever you listen to podcasts. Until we see you again, for Alyssa, I'm Mike.
Pasta lasagna.
Don't get any on ya.
You're supposed to match with me.
Don't get any on ya.
Bye.
Oh boy.
Ugh, gross.